All right, let's jump into this first story. We got this from Timcast.com. Homeless man executed in broad daylight on St. Louis sidewalk. There's a clip of what happened just before the shooting. We're not going to play the video. Now, I will say the video doesn't actually show the execution. It shows right up into the point of it. You see the guy slowly loading the weapon. He's like shaking it. And then there's someone narrating behind glass, like watching it happen, being like, hey, you just put a magazine in. It's like, don't you realize what he's about to do? Here's the crazy thing about this story. So apparently they caught the guy, I guess. But the crazy thing is, when the dude is about to load the magazine, you know he has no access to, he's unable to use that weapon at that current moment. Nobody wanted to do anything. So we get two things out of this story. For one, I want to make sure I point out stories like this probably happen a lot in big cities. And by a lot, I don't mean like every single day, but frequent enough. I've seen stuff in Chicago that would make your blood boil. And sometimes people just randomly shoot other people and things like that. This is one of these stories. I think people were shocked by this. The reason the video went viral is not just that you're seeing this callous murder, but that no one cares to do anything anymore. Carl Benjamin from the Lotus Eaters podcast says this is a social contract. You don't have to do anything, so why would you? You no longer have to protect anyone else. So I was thinking about this, and just to kick things off, I was thinking about, I did this segment on feminism and stuff the other day about gender roles and why we have certain cultural traditions. And it's because we want to survive. And we survive better when we're together. That's why a single person out in the middle of the woods might end up dying, but with 10 or 15 people, they can work together and distribute the workload and end up surviving. But now that we live in this sterile, mechanized, cyborg society, no one knows each other and no one cares. And it seems like, I guess, the side effect of absolute luxury, of humans being able to drink sugar. I mean, just think about how crazy. Look at this. I got another Coca-Cola tonight. I don't know why. You can probably tell I'm be talking fast. But we've extracted sugars and hyper concentrated. Now we just drink it. And that's something that you don't find in nature for the most part. Maybe fruit juices, but even that, you're not getting this much. We have so much luxury. We literally just don't care about anybody else. Back in the day, you're in the middle of the woods. You're like, please, we got to work together. We're going to die. Now it's, dude, we've got so much food in the shelves. You're actually pissing me off. Get away from me. And so when stuff like this happens, people just don't care.
But I think it's also like people don't feel a connection to other people in the public. Like what connects us anymore? It's not religion. It's not our ethnicity. It's not our culture. Everyone has their own little cultures. Everyone has their own little groups. And I think when you put everybody together in big cities like this, we are living in a very mistrustful society. This thing we're talking about reminds me of, I used to spend summers out in Montana. And we used to buy some of our produce and products from this group of people called the Hutterites. They're like the Amish with a little different things. And what they would do is they would make their communities. And after it got to a certain size, around 100 people, they would start another little colony because they realized that you cannot feel a connection to somebody when your society gets too big. When their colony gets too big and you're not seeing the person that's working for you, putting food on your table, cleaning your beds, whatever it is, you lose that connection and you lose the humanist instinct to, put yourself out there for other people. And I think that we're seeing that on a large scale in society, that nobody feels this connection, nobody feels this obligation to care about one another.
We just don't need so much of it. And, it used to be you did the work you had to do and then other people would do work that would complement your life. So, one guy grows the wheat, another guy bakes it into bread, and then you share. The guy with the wheat says, okay, I'll give this to you. And he says, okay, I'll make bread, and then we'll share the bread. Now it's just we have machines doing everything. So it's kind of like, I don't know you, I don't care, you provide nothing for me, you're a threat to my life, and thus we disconnect from each other. And then you see this. The same thing that makes a man sit there and just film another man be killed is the same thing that makes that man kill that other man. But there's just no connection.
I think that the one of the things that you guys haven't mentioned is the fact that if anyone does help and they hurt the guy that's got the gun, they're going to go to jail. Yep. Or the state's going to prosecute. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like you can't. Why should
there's no incentive to intervene?
Yeah, it's like inverse incentive.
Everyone knows that. Like I'm a gun guy, right? I'm a very pro 2A guy. Like I've got opinions that are as extreme as Tim or more extreme. I carry a gun all the time. Like everyone knows it. If I'm in a place where, I'm not supposed to have a gun and I happen to have a gun, I'm not doing anything. I'm not helping anyone. Mm-hmm. If I'm in a place where I can have a gun And I know that that it's an unfriendly district, like a DA would prosecute me for intervening. I'm not helping.
But not only that, even if you're in a place with constitutional carry, you run the risk of civil liability.
Absolutely.
You'll get sued in some other state or who knows what.
Absolutely.
Like I remember years ago watching videos out of China where this same kind of thing happened, where somebody would get run over or someone get attacked and nobody did anything, because the same thing happens that we're talking about is they just say, I don't want to intervene because the liability is too high. And
we're still just on the getting run over thing. I heard that they will kill you if they hit you in the car. The liability is more if you survive than if you die. If they kill you, they go to jail for a few years. If they permanently injure you, they got to pay for your life for the rest of their lives. So what they'll do is they'll get out, look at the person, and just run them over, finish them off.
the level of apathy that we're seeing in our society is very disheartening.
It's not just apathy. It's actively avoiding situations that put you in the crosshairs of the government.
Do you think this is the negative side effect of the live and let live mentality?
No.
Like, if you're watching this and you're like, I know something bad's going to happen, but I don't know what the context is. I shouldn't intervene. There might be something like, do we think that we have bred a culture that feels like they are supposed to stay out of everything?
I think maybe, but I think that it's when it comes to violence, that we've significantly disincentivized people from acting on behalf of their fellow humans because the government will allow people that are risking their lives to save other people. The government will allow those people's lives to be ruined. Look at Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Like, even if you don't like the situation with Kyle and think he shouldn't have been there, etc., that doesn't matter. The DA went after him, and they're still going after him. They're trying to go after him. The kid that literally had a gun out, that he shot in the arm, that survived.
Who said he wanted to kill Kyle Rittenhouse.
Who said, I wish I unloaded in him, told his buddy. They're allowing...
Reportedly.
Yeah, reportedly. They're allowing that kid to still bring a civil suit.
Well, the risk to reward ratio isn't even worth it. Like you said, somebody intervenes and they think to themselves, well, if I risk my life and I do help this guy and he does survive, and he does get prosecuted, what? He's going to go to jail for a year? You're not taking a murderer off the street for his entire life. You might get him off the street for a little bit. So the reward isn't there for people. And in St. Louis was at the end of January this year, there was a 17-year-old who pled guilty to shooting at a police officer, and he wasn't even given jail time. He was given less than a year of this social work program. So, I mean, the laws just aren't in favor of the law-abiding citizen. It's empowering criminals because they know that they're not going to get prosecuted for murder, just about.
Remember the McCloskeys?
No, tell me about them.
The McCloskeys live in St. Louis, and a bunch of Black Lives Matter rioters broke the fence to their private community, walked in, and the McCloskeys came out with guns on their own property and said, back off, get away. And the McCloskeys got arrested, had their guns confiscated, and then ended up having to cut some deal or something.
I think the governor stepped in on their behalf and pardoned him or something and said, you decided that they weren't going to prosecute. But the DA wanted to prosecute, which is, and now in St. Louis, this is where this guy gets killed. So the DA prosecuted or tried to prosecute the McCloskeys and then demonstrated you are not in a position to defend yourself or anyone else because ideology. And now you have this example of what happens. Obviously, one is not led to the other directly, but when you have the notion that you cannot defend yourself or others, you don't get people helping out.
The McCloskeys got charged with 2 felony counts of unlawful use of a weapon and tampering with evidence for having guns on their own property.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous when you have law-abiding citizens who feel fearful for protecting themselves, and it really does empower criminals. And it makes me think about the Michigan State University shooting, because I went to Michigan State University. I graduated last year. I still have friends there. I have loved ones there. I have family that goes there, and that's a gun-free zone. And so, again, that's another example of empowering the criminals while law-abiding citizens do not have the, just the resources or the, feel the ability to protect themselves. I'm a concealed pistol license holder in the state of Michigan, and I carried almost everywhere I went. The one place I never carried was on campus when I went to school there. And so when I think about that and I think about me graduating last year, if I didn't have, I wouldn't have had a gun on campus. I couldn't have protected myself or others if I was in that situation. I'm thankful I wasn't, but the fact is there are 3 students at MSU that aren't alive that should have been. Would the gun-free zone save those people? I don't know. But again, it's about inching away and taking away step by step our rights, and the feeling of our ability to protect ourselves.
And
It's
does
really
the
sad.
gun-free zone make them targets, right? If
Absolutely.
I wanted to do something wrong and wanted a place to do it, I would go to the place where I knew people weren't armed, right? If you're already going to commit a crime, you don't care if you're violating the gun-free zone.
Right. And I moved to Texas after I graduated, and I'll say that I carried every day there. It's an open carry state. And I've never felt safer. I saw people with guns on their hips all the time. And it was a very nice feeling, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Cultural decay. I don't know, man.
I think your point about the size of community is worth noting. Andrew Heaton, who does the Political Orphanage podcast, he had an episode that I listened to recently saying, what's the optimum size of a community? Because at a certain point, you just don't know people, and therefore you're
300.
unable. 300, or is it like 3 million? Because of
300.
like whatever. But that is very difficult to govern, right? Like if you had
300 people?
Well,
You mean a whole bunch of
if we had,
different-
I don't even know how many it would be in America, but thousands of 300 people community, that would be very difficult to regulate or to coordinate efforts across a state, let alone a national
the
level.
issue is not so much the size of community. It is to a certain degree. It's a lack of culture. It's a lack of morals, right? So you can have 20 billion people, and if each and every one of those people believed that if they did wrong, they would burn for eternity, then they might not do wrong. However, we've got people of all different views and all different faiths who do not agree, and some, in fact, believe they are obligated to strike down blasphemers and apostates, in which case you get more because of that faith system. I think that if people in this country all had an agreement on, say, like the golden rule, then you wouldn't even need police officers. You wouldn't need police with 1 billion people if everyone agreed on the morality. But they don't. And some people are predators who want to exploit and harm other people. And so now you've got stuff like this. And I guess you combine a growing civilization, more and more people, with the fact that our culture is fragmented and breaking apart, and digital media is creating decentralized networks and tribes, it's going to get worse, right? So we used to have, with just the 5 big TV networks, everybody believed the same things. But now with the internet, some people watch a show like this, some people watch other shows. What you're going to end up with is small pockets of different tribes who are just untrusting of other groups, and then you get stuff like this, man.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, we are, we're human beings, and we do have instincts to want to be around people that think like us, that look like us even. And that's why when you have homogenous societies, they are very high trust societies. Look at Japan. I mean, it's very homogenous. Everyone looks the same, talks the same, has the same culture. And here in America, we have every ethnicity, we have every religion, we have every type of culture. And as human beings that have that, instinctual need for community and for people that share the same values and morals, that becomes difficult when you cram everybody into one city and say, do your thing, like good luck. And that's why you even see this guy that's been going viral on Twitter recently, this black guy in New York, like he's yelling at minority, like he's terrorizing the city. So I do
insulting
think
them and just yelling at them.
So I do think it comes down to shared values, shared religion, shared morals.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.